Before we begin our story, let me explain some important Japanese cultural context. In Japan, police boxes called koban are small neighborhood police stations where one or two officers work alone, especially during night shifts. These officers handle everything from paperwork to patrolling the local area. Japanese police culture is deeply superstitious, with many unwritten rules and taboos. For example, officers never say it's quiet tonight, because they believe it will cause incidents to happen. The story takes place in a coastal industrial town, where the police box sits dangerously close to the harbor, a lonely, isolated place where only truck drivers and fishermen venture at night. Now let's begin our story. Let me tell you about the time I was assigned to a police box that everyone said was haunted. When you transfer to a new assignment, you always get a handover from the previous officer. This happens in every job, and police work is no different. The senior officer tells you about foot traffic patterns throughout the day, high crime areas to watch, which apartment complexes have troublemakers, and which residents might cause problems. He also shows you where helpful store owners work, which banks cooperate with police, and what we call hunting grounds, areas where criminals like to operate. Even the location of supplies inside the police box varies from station to station, so the previous officer, an older gentleman, gave me the complete tour. As I looked around the police box, something caught my eye. There was an expensive-looking sofa bed in the office. Very unusual for a police box. "That's quite a fancy piece of furniture," I said with a laugh. "Did the local residents donate it?" No, he replied, chuckling. "The officers all chipped in to buy that. You see, ever since the ghost appeared, everyone's been too scared to go near the sleeping quarters upstairs." I thought he was joking. Police officers tend to be quite superstitious, you know. We have all sorts of taboos, like never saying it's quiet tonight, because incidents will immediately start happening. Detectives never eat pork cutlet for their late night meal because it's associated with arrest. Given that atmosphere, I just brushed off the old officer's comment. Let me describe the location of this police box. It was in a coastal town, positioned so close to the harbor that you could reach the pier in just 10 meters. On stormy days, the location felt genuinely dangerous. The area was dominated by the port and factories. At night, only fishermen and truck drivers made any noise. It was an incredibly lonely place. During my 10 months at that police box, I had 4 distinct supernatural experiences. I'm writing this slowly, so please bear with me. The first incident involved a door that opened by itself. Pretty typical for ghost stories, I suppose. I never used that expensive sofa bed. When supervisors or colleagues were around, I followed those superstitious rules I mentioned. But since I worked alone at this police box, and rest time was already so short, I wanted to sleep on a proper futon. The sleeping quarters were on the 2nd floor. Next to the office, there was a narrow staircase with a broken light. At the top, you'd find a small area where you remove your shoes, then open a door to reveal a 6 tatami room with bedding. Tatami mats are traditional Japanese floor coverings made of woven straw, but that door, it would open the moment you looked away. I'd wake up and find it open. I'd go upstairs to sleep and find it already open. I'd return from patrol, or look up from paperwork while heading to the bathroom, and there it would be, standing wide open. I'd close it, and close it, and close it again, but I'd always find it open later. Yet when I watched it directly, it never moved a muscle. The worst time was when I closed it, walked downstairs, turned around, and it was already open again. I used to think, ghosts are nothing compared to the mentally unstable people I have to deal with on patrol, so this kind of thing didn't scare me much. I got so annoyed that I propped a large riot shield against the door. If something tried to open it, it would crash down with a loud bang. Let's see how badly you want to get into that sleeping room, I thought. I felt like a student who'd balanced an eraser on top of a classroom door, excited to catch the culprit. I sat downstairs doing paperwork, eagerly waiting. Some time passed, I'm not sure exactly when, but it was before 3 a.m. since I hadn't taken my rest break yet. Then I heard it. The sound of the riot shield being dragged across the floor. Even though I'd been waiting for this moment, I suddenly didn't know what to do. But my job is my job. And my body moved reflexively. My head went completely blank, but my legs carried me smoothly to the staircase. I saw a hand gripping the doorknob, slowly closing the door. In the darkness of the staircase with its broken light, only the hand from the wrist down was visible, glowing white in the gap of the closing door. Why would it close the door only this time? Looking back, that seems strange, but at that moment my face was frozen in shock. I realized two things. First, the previous officer hadn't been joking. Second, whatever this was wasn't trying to get into the room, it was already inside. From that day on, I started sleeping on the sofa downstairs. The second incident involved a dream. I knew something was up there on the second floor, but I figured as long as I slept on the first floor sofa, I'd be safe. I didn't really want to stay in that place, but it was my job. And if I told my supervisor, he'd probably just laugh at me. So sleeping on the first floor sofa became my routine. This happened during winter. Rest breaks don't always mean actual sleep. If an incident occurs, you're up all night. Even without incidents, if you get one complicated case during the day, your rest time becomes paperwork time. If paperwork takes 2 hours, you only have 30 minutes left, and lying down just makes waking up harder. So you end up sleeping with your head on the desk. Naturally, this light sleep often leads to sleep paralysis. So when it happened that night, I immediately recognized it. Sleep paralysis again. But usually this mode happened when I slept at my desk. Why was it happening now when I was lying properly on the sofa? I could open my eyes slightly, but my body would only twist a little when I tried to move. Classic sleep paralysis symptoms. The office lights were on. Why? In my limited field of vision, I could see the kerosene heater at my feet had fallen over. That's when I realized this wasn't just sleep paralysis. This was a dream. You see, this wasn't one of those modern fan heaters you might imagine. This was an old cylindrical model weighing about 40 kilograms. You couldn't knock it over just by kicking it. That's weird, I thought. What a realistic dream. Then I heard a sound. Footsteps coming down the stairs. Oh no, here it comes again. My mind was racing at full speed. Why was my thinking so clear when I couldn't wake up? I was panicking but couldn't move. Even if I could scream, I was alone. So what was the point? I had no choice but to wait for whatever was making those footsteps to arrive. After what felt like 20 seconds it appeared, a figure in white, either a raincoat or a dress, crossed the edge of my vision. My memory is hazy since this was a dream, but strangely the footsteps had stopped by then. The figure wore white clothing, both top and bottom. Its hair reached about shoulder length, and I couldn't see the face. I think it was male but extremely thin. It stood at the edge of the room watching me. This is bad. This is bad. This is bad. I prayed it wouldn't come closer while desperately trying to wake up. Then suddenly it spoke. In a hoarse, low voice. I couldn't tell the gender. It said something. The moment I heard that voice, I jerked awake. The heater wasn't knocked over after all. It had been a dream. Thinking back after I woke up, I believe it said, "Rain will fall, bugs will swarm." I had no idea what it meant. My theory about the second floor being dangerous but first floor being safe was shattered. I didn't know what to do next. That day was sunny, by the way. The third incident happened much later, in early summer, around this time of year. We had contractors come to deal with asbestos in the police box. It had been years since asbestos became a public health concern, but we were way behind on addressing it. Finally, the budget came through and the administrative office took action. All of us officers assigned to that police box thought, there are more urgent things to remove from this building than asbestos. After finishing the handover at headquarters, I arrived at the police box to find some tough-looking workers smoking in the parking lot. I thought, don't smoke where citizens can see you, you'll scare people, but I kept my expression neutral. With what I hoped was a cheerful smile, I said, hello. Thanks for your work today. How's the job going? One of the workers replied, well, actually, the police officer inside won't unlock the door for us. But this is a one-man police box and I was just at headquarters doing the handover. Since this happened during the day, I wasn't too frightened, but I'd been told the contractors had master keys from the administrative office. When I asked the worker about it, he explained, we tried using the key, but the door seemed to be blocked and wouldn't open. We thought maybe there was a chain lock or something, and we could hear sounds from inside. We called out but got no response, so we decided to wait for someone to come out. When we tried the key again, the door opened smoothly, and of course the upstairs door was standing wide open. Now for the final incident. This was the most terrifying and I couldn't take it anymore. I went directly to my supervisor and requested a transfer, even though I'd only been there 10 months. This happened in the middle of summer. By then I avoided the police box as much as possible. I only went inside for paperwork and when citizens came by. Otherwise, I stayed awake all night patrolling the town. That particular night I had a lot of paperwork and was stuck inside typing on the computer. It was during rest hours, which was personally the worst time for me. But rest hours were the only time I could lock the front door and focus on paperwork without interruption. Nearby police boxes covered any citizens who might visit during that time. It was probably around 4 a.m. when I heard a car stop in the parking lot outside. A visitor. At this hour, is it an emergency? I should handle this myself rather than call for backup. I was thinking along those lines and stood up to unlock the door when the outer door rattled open. Hey Michael, you working hard in there? It was the voice of a senior officer from the neighboring police box. Officers from nearby boxes often patrol each other's areas during rest hours, so visits like this were common. Oh, it's just my colleague. Good, I can continue with my paperwork. Michael, open up. The lights are on, so I know you're awake. The senior officer called out. I usually kept the lights on even when sleeping, but he wouldn't know that. I was about to open the door when I realized something. Wait, the senior officer wasn't doing something he would normally do. If it were really him, he would naturally know where the master key was hidden. We hide the key somewhere civilians could never find it, but officers from nearby police boxes know the location for mutual support during emergencies. Michael, please open the door. The voice came from outside. Instinctively I knew I shouldn't answer. I peeked through the window at the parking lot. There was no car. Open up. Who was this? What was this? I must not open that door. I absolutely must not. A voice speaking from the other side of the door. I turned around and saw that the upstairs door, which had been closed moments before, was now open. Danger inside too. What should I do? The fact that the lights were on was my only comfort. Eventually the voice stopped, but I could still clearly sense a presence on the other side of the door. At least I thought I could. Maybe I was just terrified. I locked myself in the bathroom and waited for morning. Half crying, I went straight to my supervisor and demanded a transfer. During the handover, my colleague laughed when I told him what happened. 6 months later, I was transferred to another town, and I don't know what happened after that. That's the end of my story. This all happened in a certain coastal town, and every word is absolutely true. Writing this has made me scared all over again. It's almost morning now, so I think I'll skip sleeping tonight.